I rise to express my opposition to the conference committee report before us today. I did not sign the report last evening, and I just wanted to take a few moments to express my reasons for opposing this legislation. While I can appreciate the work that all four caucuses have done on this issue over the last 3 years, the legislation still comes up woefully short in many areas. I should note the Senator Pro Tem and the Majority Chairman of the Senate Environmental and Resources Committee have conducted themselves as professionals throughout this entire process. They have listened, and I appreciate that courtesy. However, the final product, again, falls short in many areas. I am particularly troubled by an impact fee that only, and underline, only, gets imposed if counties or municipalities pass ordinances to authorize such a fee. There are no assurances that the 33 or so counties in the Marcellus Shale play will be taking these actions. In the event that they do not impose a fee, the counties, municipalities, and the Commonwealth will lose out on all, underline all, proposed funding. What's more, we rely on local action to authorize the impact fee, but then the state, through the PUC, will collect the tax revenue and distribute it. I can't think of any other model in state government for this kind of arrangement. We didn't do this for another major industry that got started in this state just a few years ago. The gaming industry is taxed heavily in this state. The legislature sets the tax rates, and it sets up the distribution system so that all counties in Pennsylvania benefited from the revenue, even those counties that do not have a casino in them. For a local example, I turn to my own county, my home county, Luzerne County. We have a casino, Pennsylvania's first casino. We send money to those counties, those 33 counties in the Marcellus Shale play. There's a good chance that that Commonwealth principle, that all 67 counties are in it together, is going to be shattered by this piece of legislation. I realize that this is the first major overhaul of the state's Oil and Gas Act that was enacted 28 years ago for an entirely different type of industry. And I agree we need an update of our environmental protection provisions. And there's been some good done in this bill, although in some cases I think we could have gone a little further when it comes to setbacks and protecting our water resources. But I come at this issue from the context of where I grew up. I grew up in the anthracite region, and I am well aware of the consequences of not having the proper regulations in place for an extraction industry. We lived with the mistakes and the environmental degradation for years. My father, a coal miner. My grandfather, a coal miner. My grandfather contracted black lung disease. My father, in a mining accident, had his pelvis shattered, and his mining career ended. They knew the consequences of going into those mines. They paid the consequences, and they paid for the mistakes. But my 4 beautiful daughters, who will only learn about anthracite mining in all likelihood from history books, and work in the mines. But they're going to pay for the mistakes of that industry. I hope through this legislation we are not setting up future Pennsylvanians to pay for the mistakes of this industry. Mr. President, while we rarely ever pass perfect legislation, I think the conference report is not only less than perfect, at best it is what I'm referring to as maybe legislation. Maybe it'll work if the counties and municipalities do what they're supposed to do. And maybe the revenue projections will be met. And maybe, just maybe, the industry will do the right things to protect our environment and water resources. But I think we could have built a little more certainty into this bill. I think Pennsylvanians deserve better than maybe they'll have clean water, maybe they'll have clean air. For that reason, I will be voting no on the conference report, and I urge my colleagues to vote no.